comes to the NFL, there are certain moments that are remembered forever. Whoever wins the Super Bowl, well, that one's obvious. Last minute or even last second victories are also very popular. Sacks on quarterbacks, key interceptions, and so on and so forth help make the NFL memorable. But the single most remembered thing are the catches. Because when it comes right down to it, the catches by receivers are what really move the game forward most times, and they help seal the deal in terms of victories in the NFL. So given that, allow us to show you the best football catches of all time. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Wallace gets it done. Even at age 31, which is pretty old in wide receiver years, Baltimore Ravens veteran Mike Wallace showed he could still get the job done. With Green Bay Packers cornerback Damarious Randall draped all over him, Wallace cradled a lofty pass from quarterback Joe Flacco against his body. Wallace needed only one hand as he negotiated Randall and two other members of the Packers secondary and tumbled into the end zone, all without the use of his right arm. Number 17 snag was so impressive that he punctuated it with a Lambeau leap, despite wearing enemy colors. So not only was it a great catch and a touchdown, but he got a gloat about it, and for very good reasons. The catch that made OBJ famous. When Odell Beckham Jr. was a rookie for the New York Giants, a team who has a few spots on this list by the way, he was well known in football circles for his catching ability and how he could seemingly catch anything. But what he did against the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday Night Football made him a worldwide star overnight. After a play-action fake, quarterback Eli Manning launched the ball down the right sideline from just beyond the 50-yard line to a streaking Beckham, and the rest was history. Perhaps even the best catch in football history. Even with Cowboys cornerback Brandon Carr tugging at his jersey and getting flagged for a penalty, Beckham showed off some insane body control. He fully extended his right arm, made the catch with one hand, somehow kept his body in bounds, and then fell into the end zone to score a touchdown. Replay showed that Beckham never even put his left hand on the ball, making one of the most athletic, unbelievable, and stunning catches in NFL history. This was the play that made him one of the best receivers in the league and earned him top money down the line, showing that one catch, one big play, can truly change your status in the league. Randy Moss versus Darrelle Revis. If you recall your defensive history, you will know the name Darrelle Revis, because at his prime, he was one of the best shutdown corners in the NFL, to the extent that anyone guarded by him was put on Revis Island, meaning that they would never get help from the outside because he was all around them. Not that it mattered much to Randy Moss, because the Hall of Famer was one of the only players at the position of wide receiver who wouldn't mind spending Christmas on Revis Island. Moss, while playing for the New England Patriots when Revis was with the Jets, sped past the best cornerback in the NFL and toward the end zone. The pass from Tom Brady was a touch overthrown, but that did not prevent Moss from using his right hand to bring in the ball for a touchdown that was made to look as common as a 1-yard run across the goal line. Elevated. Seattle Seahawks wide receiver Doug Baldwin made a championship effort on this play during the playoffs against the Minnesota Vikings to earn the first down. With temperatures dipping below zero in Minnesota, Baldwin elevated to his highest point with some ridiculous vertical leaping skills to pull down the high pass from Russell Wilson, all with one hand. Baldwin had no idea if he was about to get knocked out by a Vikings player, but he didn't care. He made sure he made his catch. And that's what makes plays like these so memorable, the effort to make sure you get that ball. Megatron. When Megatron was at his best, he was one of the best receivers in the game, period. The Cowboys found that out the hard way when playing against the Detroit Lions in 2011. Johnson was covered by not one, not two, but three Dallas players when quarterback Matthew Stafford looked for his superstar wide receiver in the end zone. Johnson, not to be outdone, went up and got the ball over all three of his opponents, and then he held on to the ball despite being hacked by the Dallas players looking to force for an incomplete pass. But when Megatron has the ball, you ain't taking it from his hands. The Immaculate Reception. Fans of the Pittsburgh Steelers would riot if the Immaculate Reception was not on this list, so hey, here you go. Though we'll be clear on one thing, there was a lot of luck in the play, and also because we still don't know for sure if it was even legal. Had the ball made contact with either John Fuqua of the Steelers or with the ground, it should have been ruled an incomplete pass per the rules of the NFL at the time. The play was allowed to continue despite the controversy of that moment, giving Franco Harris the opportunity to make the most famous run of his storied career. And that play is still talked about decades later. That is a true moment. The catch. It is a play so famous that it has two names, The Catch and Montana to Clark. The San Francisco 49ers were trailing the Dallas Cowboys late in the 1981 NFC Championship game when quarterback Joe Montana looked toward the end zone to make a play. Montana, while on his back foot, threw a high pass toward the back of the end zone, and tight end Dwight Clark rose above everybody else and caught the ball for a game-winning score. It is a moment that will live on in highlights and in San Francisco history, so long as the league and the club exist, and it's not hard to see why they feel that way. The tiptoe in the end zone. We're ending this list with two major catches in the most important game in the NFL, the Super Bowl. Specifically, we're talking about Super Bowl 43. It was the dominant Pittsburgh Steelers, led by Ben Roethlisberger, versus the shockingly good in the playoffs Arizona Cardinals, led by Hall of Famer Kurt Warner. To the shock of everyone, the Cardinals were up and literally scored a touchdown on the previous drive in 8 seconds, which is impressive, but that is not the catch in question, because the Steelers came back and drove down the field and had to score to potentially secure the win. But the Cardinals were not lax in their coverage here, especially when it came to all-star receiver Santonio Holmes. But that didn't matter, as Big Ben was able to dial in a shot into the end zone just enough so that Holmes would not just catch it, but literally be in bounds by the tips of his toes. No one could believe he caught that pass, especially the Cardinals. But he did, it counted, and they went on to win. Bubblegum on the helmet. What makes a memorable catch? This is not a trick question, as we've already shown you plenty of memorable ones, but in truth, what makes a catch memorable isn't just how it's caught, but how it got to them and how they made sure the ball was caught. The place? Super Bowl 42. The New York Giants, led by Eli Manning, were facing off against the undefeated New England Patriots, led by Tom Brady. No one gave the Giants a chance to win the game, and yet in the fourth quarter, they were only down by 4. In a play that still boggles the minds of people to this day, Eli Manning was rushed by the Patriots. Escaping one of them clutching his jersey, he heaved the ball into the air, threw it 40 yards to David Tyree. Tyree, who is a backup wide receiver, hadn't made a true impact all game. By his own admission, had a terrible week of practice before the Super Bowl and was guarded heavily by Patriots players. And yet, despite all of those factors on both sides of the ball, he was able to jump up, grab the ball, pin it to his helmet to keep it in place so that it would be labeled a catch. Or as one announcer called it, there was bubblegum on the helmet because of how it just seemed to stick there. Now, to be clear, this wasn't a touchdown catch, as that would come later via a pass from Manning to Plaxico Burress, but without that David Tyree catch, they wouldn't have been set up to win. And when they did. To this day, this is hailed as possibly the greatest Super Bowl play ever, and easily one of the greatest catches in NFL history. So what do you think? What do you think of this look at the top NFL catches of all time and how they stack up to one another? Do you remember seeing any of these catches live when they happened? Do you feel that one of these catches deserves to be higher than any other? Or did we forget an impressive catch altogether? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and we will see you next time on the channel.